Have you ever thought about what decisions players make in a game? Have you ever thought about the decisions that your players make every night in training when you're training them? Have you ever thought about how you set up your training sessions, what decisions they have to make as a result of the way you set up your training sessions? 8 years ago, I presented at the National Coaching Conference an analysis of hurling. And to this very, very day, people have told me that they've adapted and changed their training routines as a result of that presentation. Today, I think I'm going to share with you something that hopefully will make you reflect on the training, how you set up your training sessions going forward, to improve the way that your players perform in the wild and chaos nature of the game. Going to look at three things. What is decision making? The decisions that players make in the game, and how we can adapt our training sessions, our training routines to affect decision making. Okay, you're a player. You're sitting there as a player. You want to receive or gain possession of that ball. What will you do? Will you catch? If you're going to catch the ball, what catch will you do? Will it be overhead? Will it be a face catch? Will it be a chest catch? Or it might be a low catch? You might control the ball in your hurley and then catch it. You might perform an overhead bat and then run on and roll lift or jab lift the ball into your hand. All of these decisions will be influenced by a couple of things. It will be influenced by the speed, the flight, and the direction of the ball coming at you. But it will also be your positioning on the field, and the opposition will influence how you go about gaining possession of that ball. So now, what happens if your players are poor at overhead catching? What happens if they're poor at chest catching? Well, the decisions of gaining possession through catching the ball will be limited. What happens if they're poor at overhead batting? Well, now the decisions that they have to gain possession of the ball from overhead are limited. So now you have the ball. You have the ball in your hand. What will you do with it? Well, you might touch it on the hurley and return it into your hand. You might take 4 steps in possession. Or you might solo the ball. Put it on your hurley and solo. So now you have decisions to make to maintain possession. So now you decide you want to release possession. You want to get rid of the ball. What will you do? Well, you might hand pass the ball. You might strike the ball. But if you're going to strike, what strike will you do? Will you strike the ball from your hand or from the hurley? Will you strike it on your right side or your left side? Or what will it be from your ankle, your knee, your hip, or your shoulder height? Or maybe you might kick the ball to get rid of it. Now again, think about your player. What happens if they're poor on their left side at striking? Well, the options available now are limited to them. So have you players technically good at all those possible skills? At gaining, maintaining, and releasing possession? If you have, they're more likely to make better decisions or more options available because they can perform those range of skills. But can your players perform them at match tempo? And this is where the player lives in the wild and chaos of the game, at match tempo. So now, here's the next scenario. This is you're playing cornerback. The person sitting in front of you is corner forward. Where will you stand? Are you happy standing there? Or would you like to stand beside him? Or maybe you might like to stand in front of them. Now, the position that you're going to stand in will depend on a number of things. It will depend on where the ball is. If the ball is at the other end of the field, well, I might stand in front or I might stand beside. Who has the ball? Has my team the ball or the opposition have the ball? If they have the ball, what skill are they going to do? Are they soloing possession? Well, if they're soloing, it might take longer to come. If they're about to strike the ball, well, I better be up marking my player. Where will the ball land? I'm deciding, okay, the ball is being struck now, where will it land? If it lands in there, well, I better be in there to mark. I better be goal side. But if the ball comes in front, I may decide, well, I'm going to get out in front. Now, the other thing it depends on is who you're marking. If the player is really, really fast, you might decide that you're going to play in front. If they catch the ball in their right hand, you might decide you're going to play on that side. So you're making decisions depending on all those elements. Now, you might think all these decisions now are adding up. So how can we quantify all these decisions? Well, we decided to put them into 4 W's. So here you are, this is you as a player. You must decide now what to do. What skill will I do? Will I strike? Will I solo? Will I hand pass? And then off the ball, will I stand? Will I run? Will I change direction? Will I jump? Now, once you have decided that, you must now decide when will you do it. When will I strike? When will I solo? When will I hand pass? When will I go? When will I stay? Oh, I'll go now. Okay. The next thing is where. Where will I strike the ball to? Where will I run to? Where is there space? And then finally, who? Where is my teammate I'm going to strike to? Who will I pass to? Will I pass there? Will I pass there? Who will I avoid? So now, here I am. You're sitting in your car, and you can put the keys into the car. You can turn the wheel, you can turn on the indicators. You can put the car into gear. Technically, you can perform those actions. But now, you want to go somewhere. You want to go from point A to point B, and you drive out on the road. And all the elements you decide to use will depend on what and where and when. What colour is the light? Will I make it? It's just going amber. Oh, I'll speed up. I'll stop. The car is just about to come into my lane. I must adapt. Slow down. I must read what's going on in front of me to make a decision about what technical skill I'm going to use. So now, last April, I got an opportunity to go lecturing in France for a week. So I flew into Basel in Spain, Switzerland, and drove down to the south of France. So I got into the car in the airport. That was fine. First of all, I went to the wrong side of the car. Yeah. For anyone that drove in the opposite side of the road, oh my God, where's the steering wheel? So around to the right side, got in, yeah, got the controls, happy. But then out onto the road, oh my God, what an experience. And anyone that has experienced that knows what I'm talking about. So technically I was able to perform all those actions, the indicator, the gears, whatever. But what was different was everything in front of me. The environment. The cars coming at the wrong side. Now, think about your players at home. They can be technically very, very good. They could put the ball through a small space. But are they able to decide when to do it, and where to do it, and who to do it with? Like in the car, I want to go from point A to point B. All these decisions must have a purposeful decision. So for example, we're going to look at attacking and defense, making decisions in attack and defense. So if I have possession, my team is in possession, I want to score. Well, how am I going to make decisions to score? Well, I want to keep possession. I want to penetrate. I want to get the ball in near the goals. Right? I want to keep support my teammates. I want to keep space, create space, width and depth. Right? And then a bit of mobility, keep moving. But then when the opposition have the ball, well, I'm trying to deny a score. So we deny a score by preventing the pressure on the ball, putting pressure on the ball, defending the goal at all costs. And we delay the ball. My teammate is delaying the possession, now I'm going to cover them. I'm going to support them. And then we keep depth and compactness. So now we have a reason for making decisions. When you are helping your players, now you can quantify the 4 W's in either attack and defense. We're all familiar with the total playing performance. Technical, the skills of the game, tactical, decision making, team play, the combining with our teammates, physical fitness, repeating the skills of the game over and over again, psychological in the middle. Today, all we're going to focus on is the tactical. All the elements within the total playing performance are located in the 15-a-side game. The 4 W's, what, where, when, and who, is decision making. Now, technical is going to influence it. Tactical, physical is all influenced. But we're only going to focus on decision making today. How are we going to make a decision? Well, information needs to happen. Right? So we have the player needs to get information in order to make a decision. So when signal is received, how is it received? Well, we receive the information through a sense. For example, we'll talk about vision. So here the player is looking and scanning for information. And there's so much information going in, telling us and informing us of what's going on around us. And then perception occurs, an understanding of that signal. Now, if we have experience of that signal, well, we'll be able to make sense of it. Okay? So, information occurs, we receive the sense, and then we make sense of that signal. But what are these signals? Well, the number one is the ball. The ball will tell me what to do, where to go, when to go. And again, depending on the flight, the speed, and the duration of that, or the direction of that ball, is going to really tell me about what to do. But also, my teammate is going to influence the decision and the signal that I receive. For example, my wing back is coming out with the ball. They're just about to strike on the right side, but I know that they're only able to strike about 30 or 40 meters on that side. So now I'm able to get into a position ahead of my opponent because of that prior knowledge. And the last one is my opponent. Where are they? How close are they to me? Where is the spare player? How many times have your players got possession of the ball and hit it to the other end of the field, straight to the unmarked person. What we've described so far is what is decision making. Decision making, 4 W's. What, where, when, and who. Now we're going to look at decision making in a game. So let's take one moment in a game, one moment in time. You're on the sideline as a coach. You're playing the rival team. Their full forward is bearing down on goals. Your full back takes him out. Oh my God, it's a penalty. A penalty. He didn't hit him that hard, ref. Right? But now, you might be frustrated, but what is going through the goalkeeper's mind? For 18 years at adult level, I played in goals. For 17 of those 18 years, I had 2 teammates each side of me. And now, in the last 12 months, myself, alone, defend the goal against their best penalty taker. So what will I do? How am I going to help my chances of preventing that goal, denying them the goal scoring opportunity? Well, here's the goal. Well, I might stand a little bit to this side and show them more of one side. I'm going to maybe step out a little bit, because for each 2 steps out, I deny them 2 meters. I'm going to stay upright, again, to defend the goal. When the ball is struck, it can be travelling anything up to 141 kilometres an hour. 141 kilometres an hour. Now that's okay if you're a mile away, right? But the player is 20 metres away when they're striking. That is in my personal space in 510 milliseconds. Now think about this now. It takes you, on average, 200 to 400 milliseconds to blink. To blink. And this is in your personal space within 510 milliseconds. Okay. So, if I wait for the ball to be struck, well, it's gone in. Unless it hits me or comes in my area, it's going to be very hard to save. So I need prior information to make that decision to execute that skill. So I'm watching his run up. I'm watching where he is throwing the ball. How far away from the ball, from his body is the ball? That's going to tell me information. Where he strikes the ball. Is it on the inside that he's going to strike the ball and go to the outside? Will he strike the ball full on? And that's going to come straight at me or within that range? Or will he come over the ball and put top spin on it? What height he strikes the ball at is going to tell me where it's going. Here we can see Joe Canning, and he's striking the ball and it's going to go downwards. So now, the ball is on the way, 141 kilometers an hour. As a coach, as a spectator, this is what you see. This is what I see. A spot coming at me 141 kilometers an hour. In that 3 seconds, from he starts his run up to the striking the ball, I have all that read to make a decision. And then the ultimate experience, you save it, and it's out in play, and now there's hundreds more decisions to be made. So now, let's think about the Hurling All-Ireland, and we'll look at the Camogie All-Ireland as well. So I carried out an analysis of the Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland. And we looked at the player of the year, TJ Reid. And we looked at the total number of possessions he had the ball. So the time, I'd say the possession meaning the time he has it in his hand and then gets rid of it. Have you a number in your head? The total amount of possessions, 17. 17 times he had the ball in his hand. 17 times he had to make a decision about what to do, where to hit it, when to hit it, and who to hit it to. But how does this compare to the other Kilkenny players? Well, we see TJ is all the way out in front. The next, and my colleague Michael Fennelly, man of the match, 12 possessions. And we see that possessions range from 3 possessions right up to 17 possessions. So players have a range of possession depending on where they play. Now let's think about the Camogie All-Ireland. Now, the Hurling All-Ireland was 74 minutes. The Camogie All-Ireland was 63 minutes. Gemma O'Connor, the Players' Player of the Year. More or less. She had the ball 13 times. 13 times she had to make a decision about what, where, when, and who. Now, how does this compare to the other 14 players? Well, here we see Gemma, but Gemma wasn't the top. Orla Cotter, and if anyone can remember the game, Orla Cotter was really, really dominant. And she had 18 possessions. 18 times Orla had to make a decision about what to do, when to do it. So depending on where you play in the game, the position you play in the game, might influence the amount of possessions you play. You have limited time to make decisions on the ball. So now, not only have you possession, but how long have you possession for? Now remember, TJ had 17 possessions. His total time in possession was 42 seconds. 42 seconds. How do we measure that? We measured it for when he caught the ball, when he struck the ball, or hand passed the ball. A total of 42 seconds. Now that's less than the time it would take him to run a lap of the field. So, 17 possessions, 42 seconds. 2.5 seconds per possession. 2.5 seconds, he had to make a decision about what, where, when, and who. 2.5 seconds to make a decision and execute a skill. Now, if 2.5 seconds is the average, well, there must have been some faster. And there was. The fastest possession he had was when he scored the goal. And that was 800 milliseconds. 0.8 of a second. And let's see it.
Walter Welsh has a chance here. Lays it off to TJ Reid, who scores. Typical Kilkenny, typical TJ Reid. He did it in the semi-final against Waterford. He's done it here.
What decisions off the ball did he make? Watch again. What was these decisions off the ball he was making? Where to go, when to go, what to do. Catch and execute. Not only execute, but what are the Galway players doing? Execute under pressure. So now, let's think about all the possession, and let's now include the time in possession for every player. Think about TJ Reid. He had 42 seconds and 17 possessions. Let's look at Michael Fennelly, the player of the match. He had 12 possessions and 23 seconds. But let's draw your attention to Cillian Buckley. Cillian Buckley had 8 possessions in 9 seconds. That's an average of 1.1 second per possession. Wow. Wow. Now, how is this for the Camogie players? In red, you see the time. In white, you see the possessions. You see Gemma, and now you see Orla. Okay, let's look at possessions of the ball. Where did TJ get possession of the ball? Well, in the first half, he got the ball on the right-hand side, 4 possessions. But in the second half, you notice that he had possession of both sides of the field. He was more active. He was deciding on what to do, where to go, when to go. But more interesting enough is how he got possession. How he got possession. In white, he gained possession in an area the ball was within 20 meters of him. So he was using his scanning ability to scan and take in information 20 meters away. But also, let's look at the ones in red. These occurred when the ball was struck more than 40 meters. So what's this telling us? It's telling us that TJ had to gain possession and read the ball within close meters, but also from a distance. What were the Galway players doing? What were the Galway players doing when he executed the skill? Well, we classified it into 3 areas. The player 2 meters away, so he had 2 meters to execute the skill. This happened 4 times. He had 17 in total, remember that? 4 times he had 2 meters to execute that skill. If we move the player closer into 1 meter, this happened 10 times. And finally, more than one player within 1 meter happened 3 times. So it tells us that TJ and our players have to execute a skill under pressure. Under pressure from time and opposition. Players have to make decisions with and without the ball. If they have limited time on the ball, what are they doing for the rest of the game? What are they doing for the other 69 minutes? They're making decisions off the ball. They're making decisions about how to regain possession. What, where, when, and who. They're reading the play. So now, they have to be really skill efficient. There's contrast. If they have limited possession, limited time, they have to be really, really skillful to execute that skill. But also they have to be really adaptable to different environments. Okay? Let's think about our total playing performance and each one of these in balance. All right? And there's countless amount of decisions to be made in each segment. Now, let's think about a trend in the last 12 to 24 months. The emphasis of strength and conditioning. If strength and conditioning is now taking over the majority of the wheel, where is there time now to do the technical? Where is there time to do tactical, as in decision making and team play? We have an imbalance. Okay, now, finally, we're going to move on. How can we adapt the game conditions to affect decision making? So let's think about this. How many coaches spoon feed their players? How many of us as coaches tell the players what to do, where to go? If we keep telling players what to do, when to go, and where to go, well, can they think for themselves? So how are we going to help them? Well, we could design a game and play a game. We could set up game conditions like 2 versus 1. Or we might give video the session and give them feedback. We have the game set up, and now we want to adapt the game. So we're going to adapt it by space, time or task, equipment or players. So let's think about space. 10v10, 4v4 area. Well, if we increase the space, well, we have more space and potentially more time to make a decision. Lengthen the area, now you increase the ability to strike the ball and read the flight of the ball. And then width, easier to defend in depth, but not in width. Time or task, we think about the rules. And currently we have 4 steps in possession. But we can increase it to 8 steps or 6 seconds in possession to increase the chance to make a decision. Or else we can decrease the chance to make a decision by decreasing the steps or the time taken. Let's think about the equipment. And if we have narrow goals, it's going to promote points and make it harder for goals to go in. And then wider goals is going to create more goal scoring opportunities. If we think about equipment and maybe zoning off the pitch, for example, the movement of the ball. In the next 5 minutes, how many times can you get the ball inside the white cones? Now you have attack and defence. The movement of players. For example, right, the 3 players, you must stay inside that area. Or else 2 of you can go in and out. And finally, players. Well, for example, we have our 4v4. Increasing the players is going to limit the space that we're going to play in. We may limit the one team and play odd versus even numbers. Team in black have possession and potentially they have more time to make a decision. Or else we might overload them. Give the team in white 2 extra players, 10 versus 8, and challenge the time in possession. Right. I want you to think about your current activities. Do you focus on the ball activities or do you focus on off the ball activities? Do you focus on improving the drill better or the player's ability to play the game better? Some game conditions can practice poor decision making. For example, we're going to set up a game and you have to have 6 passes before you shoot. I have possession. My ultimate aim is to score. I pass once. I get the pass back and I'm in for a score. Oh, can't score. Turn around, hand pass another one. Hand pass again, and they're in. But they can't score because they need 6. And now we're forcing the player into, oh, I should be going for a score, but now I have to turn away and keep possession because that's what you're telling me to do. Think about the activities that you set up. The conditions might be limiting the decision making and promoting poor decision making. So we learn the game by playing a game. For example, we're going to set up a small-sided game. 6v6 in a small area, and we've all done this. What have we? We have a small area, and they're challenged by the time and space that they have available. All right? If we add goals, now we have attack and defence. It's more like the real game. However, think about the space. Think about where the ball is. It's confined in that area. The players are confined in the area. If we look back to the All-Ireland for a minute, and see Kilkenny playing this way for the total of the game and Galway playing the other way. And we divide the pitch in half. And the ball transfers from one side to the other 73 times. 73 times, over and back. It went into the Galway half for 35 and into the Kilkenny half for 38. And the majority of times it was long striking that got it there. Now, what is that telling us as coaches of players? Well, they had to read the flight of the ball when it was changing ends from a long strike. Now, if we go back to the small-sided game, the game, where is the ball? The ball is continuously in that small area. They get an opportunity to read the flight of it close by, which is necessary. Remember all the times TJ got the ball very, very close. But we need to help them read the flight of the ball. So let's think about space, time, task, equipment. How are we going to make that more specific? We add an area. And now the ball is transferred from one space to the other. Yes, we can have extra area at one side and maybe smaller the other, and then maybe a bigger on each side. Or maybe we reduce the areas on both sides to challenge them. So not only now has the number one skill of maintaining possession within that small area is a hand pass, but now they have to strike the ball as well as hand pass. If we think about the time or task, we might give them 5 steps in possession or 10 steps in possession. The equipment, we might add in a zone on one side. Now we want to practice depth, creating space. So when the ball is on this side, well, the 2 players must be outside the area. And then when it goes over, they can move anywhere. Or we might add the zones to both sides. All right. Adding the players. Players to one side going to really, really challenge this area, or maybe we might challenge them at both sides. So when we set up games, we must have a team. We have attack and defense is more like the real 15-a-side game. The more elements of these that we have and these that we have, the more likely it is to the 15-a-side game. The game provides technical, tactical, decision-making, and team play. Physical fitness. They learn the game by playing a game. Let me introduce you to Zola. Zola lives in the zoo. Every single day, John, the zookeeper, brings her breakfast, lunch, and an evening meal. And even if she's not hungry, dinner is served. In the evening time, her cage is open, and she goes in. She has shelter from all the elements and protection from all the animals. Everything is done for her. Every day is the same. Life is easy. Life is comfortable. This is great. Let me introduce you to Eva. Eva lives in the wild. And every single day, Eva has to go and find her food. If she wants to eat, she'll have to run and chase down her prey. And even with all her strength and skill, she'll only be successful 1 in 20 times. If she doesn't find food, she doesn't eat. If she doesn't find water, she doesn't drink. Where does she sleep at night? Well, wherever they're safe. She has to learn how to protect herself. She has to learn how to adapt, to survive. Now, here's a question. What would happen if we put Zola into the wild? How long would she survive? Well, not very long. Why? Well, she hasn't developed the skills necessary to find food, to protect herself. Why not? Well, she spent all her time in the safe environment. Now, how does Eva survive in the wild? She survives in the wild for being in the wild. She's learned the skills necessarily to survive in the wild by being in the wild. She had to learn how to adapt. She had to learn how to protect herself. Can you picture the zoo tigers environment in your training sessions? We as coaches set up activities and tell the players where to go and when to go, what skill to do. The players will follow our instructions and go where they're told. Now, what happens those players when they go into the chaos and the wild of the game? Well, their skills break down because everything has been done for them before that. So my challenge to you today is to set up activities that make players make decisions for themselves. To set up games and routines to challenge their thinking that they have to think by themselves. Tigers learn to survive in the wild by being in the wild. Players learn to survive in the game by playing a game. So many decisions, so little time. Thank you.